And then when COVID happened, things surged up. And then at that point of time, it was Grofers. They were delivering next day. And then
Quick
Zepto
commerce.
came. Yeah, Zepto came in 21, 22. Now everything is into 10 minutes delivery. Amazon is about to go live with Amazon now. Flipkart minutes will be live. Where do you see this Indian D2C or startup e-commerce ecosystem going in the next 3, 5 years? Where do you see future of Amazon and where do you see Blinkit, Zepto, Instamart? Will they grow or will they become stable?
So I'll just take the consumer view and also a brand view, and I'll try to give an answer. A consumer wants everything in 10 minutes, right? Or a consumer will want everything next minute. So it is actually a no-brainer to say that, quick commerce or the shorter time is what is going to actually continue to grow, right? And that's where the market will eventually transition towards. But I'll give you the other view, which is the brand's view or the supply chain view, right? Let's take the kirana or the distributor network, right? Like you
Right.
find kiranas, FMCG kiranas, they're there everywhere because the volume is just so high. But let's look at categories like, let's say, bags or lunch boxes or, appliances, electronics. You don't find them in kiranas, right?
That's true.
Reason being that the volume that's circulating is not as high as in FMCG. Now,
That's true.
because of this, the current model that, let's say, quick commerce has, which is dark store, everything in 10 minutes, everything has to be in the dark store, that is not scalable for a bunch of categories where you cannot lock so much working capital. And FMCG can lock enough working capital because the circulation, the turns are pretty high,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
For these categories, like for where I am operating in, I cannot afford to lock my working capital, so
That's
much
true.
of working capital across all dark stores. Now, how does this get solved in the long term? Either Blinkit, etc., will have to actually do a lot more data intelligence, figure out which are the dark stores that are worth pursuing for some of these brands, some of these categories, and get to 10 minutes there. And everywhere else, you probably get to them in like 30 minutes or 2 hours or 1 day or 2 day, depending on where you're operating.
Got it. So two things here. Does it mean that for categories like Basil, where we are operating, the way it clicked quickly for Amazon and
Won't scale
Shopify
on quick commerce.
won't scale on quick?
The reason is it's not because of lack of demand. It may not be a smart choice
Smart
for
choice.
a brand, especially because, see, I think when you're very young and very early, you need cash, right?
That's true.
So Amazon and Shopify, why they are awesome is because you get cash out very quickly. There is no
That's true.
inventory that is locked. You will start making cash, right? Like you will start seeing cash. But on the other hand, platforms like Blinkit, Zepto, etc., there could be a bunch of dark stores where you're sitting on 6 months inventory.
Inventory
And as a
requirement.
brand, you would probably make a choice that this is not something that I want to do. Um,
That's
Not
true.
all dark stores need to store. For example, in Bangalore, in the pin codes where I am in, which I know is a very modern pin code, we are completely out of stock. But there are a bunch of pin codes where my inventory is sitting, right? Nobody's buying from there. So I think, there is still a little bit of data intelligence gap that I'm sure these guys will solve over time. They'll figure out which dark store, which category, which price point, and they'll be able to map it. But pretty much for these categories, that's what is going to happen, right?